What's up, my Ruckusees and Ruckusettes? This is a frame-up build series with the GY6 engine. If you don't know what a GY6 is, you pull the 50cc out, you slam 150cc of raw freaking power under that Ruckus. It's a complete motor swap. Actually, this one's going to be a 190cc. All the parts that I use are going to be linked down below. Upcoming videos, I've got a turbo for my 232cc Honda Ruckus. We're going to myth bust, will a turbo work on a GY6? So that's coming. Make sure you hit the little blue bell that's right on the side and subscribe so you get notified of new videos that come out. Let's do this build. As y'all know, step one, got to put these cups in the frame. That's for our bearings. So I'll flip this thing over. Big one's going to go on the bottom. All right, there's two of these. There's a small one and a big one. Big one goes on the bottom. I got a little bit of powder coat in here. I think I'm going to grind that out really quick. Large one on the bottom. Remember, there's a smaller one too, so. I'm kind of hitting it in a circle pattern here. Good. Now the other side. I'm just going to clean this up really quick too with the razor blade. A file will work too, I just like the razor blade method better. Think I got it pretty good. The next step is we got to put this rear frame on. If we put the steering neck on first, it's going to be like too much weight on the front, and the front's just coming down. So this will counterbalance it if we put this rear frame on first. So let's do that. This Loctite, this is literally like your best friend. Don't build a Ruckus without Loctite. I use red Loctite. And I've got these really nice bolts here. I just slide them together like that. Put a little red Loctite on the end there. Doesn't take much. Just like that. And you can even like take another bolt and spread it around. Doesn't take a whole lot. And get these started. Trying not to clank around the frame too much. Even though powder coat is super strong. I just get one side started, then I'll do this other side. Always hand start. Never start cranking. One thing I'll mention, just because we're on the subject, these two frames they both have powder coat on it, so you're not going to get any ground through this. So if you're trying to ground anything to the frame for your starter or anything, it's not going to work out. The only way would be to grind both sides of the frame up inside here. So just keep that in mind. Powder coat will kill your ground unless you grind off the contact points. You notice here, almost has more weight on the back now, so perfect timing to put our steering neck triple trees in so that everything's balanced. No flopping around or anything like that. So let's do that. Now that we got our bearing races in this sucker, this sweet pink frame, I can't get over this. Is just like awesome. It's like so artsy. I love it. I'd sport it for sure. Ready for this contrasting color? Dude, check it. What? Those two colors mesh perfect. It's like the Vice City, well, Christina calls it the ice cream. Vice City for the males, the ice cream bike for the gals. But we got to get these bearings on here. We'll lube them up, get it all installed, and then we'll have a steering neck installed on our frame. So I've got some really nice grease here. You notice we've got two bearings, one small, one big. Big one goes down here. But what we need to do is we need to lube this bearing up real nice. It's always better to do too much and then wipe off the excess than not enough. This is going to be our steering neck bearings. If you notice there's like two angles, there's like that angle or this angle. It's going to go this way. So I flip this up. I can just drop it down. It's like that. Show you what I mean. See that? Just rides right in there. And now I'll get my other one ready. That one's going to go right up on the top. I'm just going to get it ready. So once I slide this through, we'll put this bearing through on the top, of course. And then we've got this little race. See that race? It's got the spot for the bearing. That'll go down on over through the threads there, so I can tighten it down. And then we'll go this little groove See that? That'll go over the top. And finally, the lock nut right on top. And then right above that is a little padded little foam piece. So here's the bearing. It's the V of it is facing down. And then I'll slide the steering stem through. We call it a steering stem. These are steering neck bearings or the triple tree. Now, remember this with the little groove for the bearing. I just cleaned these threads up. So now I could spin it on a lot easier. This is a used steering stem. A lot of the stuff on this bike is used and a lot of it's new. So I'm just holding the pressure on the bottom of the steering stem until I get a decent clamp on there. So once you get it nice and tight, you want to take it, of course, a wrench and tighten it down even more. With the forks installed, you might have to do this multiple times. You're supposed to get one bounce. So if I go like this, and I get one bounce, you don't want the, like where it does that, bounces back and forth. It's kind of a loose law, but that's the way it should be. Then once you're done, put your little, down the groove here. It's like that. And your lock nut goes over the top. And then we'll tighten that down. And then your steering neck, or steering stem, or triple trees, or steering bearings are done. And we can move on. Okay, here's the top of our triple tree. I need to put the handlebar mount on, which is this guy. This is an NCY mount. See, it kind of goes on top of here and then clamps some handlebars down. So I'm going to put the bigger opening down just like that. And then you see this bolt, it's got this little curved area, washer type thing. That's going to go in from the back side here. And then you've got a nut that'll tighten down right here. But of course, like anything on your build, you want to put some red Loctite on there so that sucker never comes loose while you're cruising. That wouldn't be good. Slide it through the back. Just make sure everything's lined up. And then you can start your little nut there. I'm going to crank that down. And off your stock Ruckus, it has this little little nut cap. You just push that on, make it look nice. Here I've got this little cover that covers the ugly part of the frame underneath here. This is FLP frame cover. They normally come like this. This is a setup. I just want to show you that for reference. But we had this one powder coated, of course, and that'll just go up underneath here. And then right behind it will be this little spacer. So we're going to come in through the back. There's a hole already drilled from your factory right above, like the bottom, you'll see it. And then I'll put the spacer in like this. Slide this into place. Sometimes I like to put some little padding behind there so it doesn't rattle around. Of course, red Loctite. See how slick that looks? Hides all that ugliness back here. Now we got to get all these pieces here. This is all the stuff that came off the stock unit. I kind of have everything lightly screwed in. These guys, I'm just going to put these back on the same way they came off. All right, got to put the ignition on. These little nuts here, they just kind of drop behind and get held back there. You got to move them in such a way to get them lined up. So do that. And then one big mistake I see a lot is people leave this out. This has to stay in there. See this little collar? This is where the lock is. So when you turn your ignition on like this, when you go to lock it, see how that pops out? Not much, but it does. That's where this thing rides. See that? Very, very important. So line it up, it goes up like that. And then your ignition, of course. So these aren't the original bolts. The original bolts were like a one-time use bolt, and we're not using those. So when you're all done, you want to make sure that like your locking works. So turn it to the left. See, I can pull the key out, and the steering neck is locked. And then you can turn it like halfway, and then you're unlocked. Make sure that works. And then finally, you've got this little key lock cover. I mean, there's aftermarket ones as well that you can do. All right, handlebar time. I got some Loctite on these bolts, of course. Just gonna get them hand started. Woo! That's slick. These bars are a little bit tight, but once I get that front suspension on, it should be good. I'm about ready to put this throttle tube on, but off camera I tried to slide it on. This powder coat's too thick, so I'm gonna have to grind this, get this powder coat off. All right, here it is. Now I can slide this NCY bearing throttle right over the top, and very carefully, without scratching the powder coat, clamp it down. I'm going to slide this up like this. Generally you would have this down, but I don't want this elbow to hit the fairing because these are really low bars, so that's what I'm going to do. Look at that. Even have it hooked up to the carburetor on the other end, just to make sure. You got to put this sweet. Got to figure out where the best place to put this. This is our master cylinder for the front disc brakes. Thing of it is, we got to be super careful with this powder coat. I'm just taking my time trying to get this right, because when you squeeze this down, you got to make sure this isn't going to hit here, which it kind of is, but we don't have a whole lot of shots at this without scratching this powder coat. So I pretty much have it where I want it right now. The minute I squeeze this down, it's going to make an imprint into the bars. There's really no like doing this over again. Otherwise we're going to ruin the powder coat. So that worked out real nice. Super slick. Super slick. Now I'll put the hose on. Here's the brake sensor. And then the throttle cable, of course. This is a used hose, but it's still in good shape. I just have that little washer there, and then the other one will go on the other side, so that the brake fluid doesn't leak out when it's under pressure. We got the 90 degree right here, which makes it perfect. All right, grips. A little carb clean. Do a little spin. When they dry, it'll stick big time. Line the little NCY logos up, of course, so they match. Perfect, perfect. So I need to put these switches on here. Kind of line them up. There's a little like indentation there. It's a nipple so that the switches don't move. They don't twist around while you're pushing them. So I'm just kind of lining them up, and then I'm going to just drill a hole. Sweet, we are golden. We are golden. This thing fits on here perfectly. Of course I checked it off camera. So these are the stock controls here. The little lever has been grinded off and then powder coated. Pretty slick little setup, actually. To measure where this lever is, because we want it to be the same on both sides, so I just took this piece of wire and kind of mark it so I know that I'm this far away, and then I've got a little dot right here that I marked so that I know, and then I can put this on. This is one of those things I got to be really, really careful, because we powder coated this. We scratch it, gotta wait like 2 weeks, so don't want to scratch it. Another little trick you can do is you can do masking tape so you don't scratch anything. I'm gonna let go real soft. So I want to double check. So I do know that this needs to swivel down further, just a hair. Tedious stuff right here. I tuck all my cables and wiring and stuff right between this little square bracket, just like the original stock was doing. But pretty much our setup on the bars is all done. So while I'm here, I'm gonna just I'm gonna put this horn on. There's a little bracket for the horn. Some of the years had a bracket for a horn behind the fairings, and some was right on the front headlight. This one here, behind the fairing. So I've got this killer Coso gauge. I've already mounted the little unit, so all you gotta do, I gotta put some screws in here, but all I gotta do is clip it on there. It's like that, and then you're set. That looks hot. This bike is hot.